Hello, Danhausen here. You are listening to Spirit of the Wolf. Spirit of the Wolfhausen, if you will. Yes, quite wonderful. Cocktails and talk show stuff. Isn't that nice? Anyways, watch this, listen to this. Do whatever you may do to consume this media or be cursed. Got that, Danhausen? Enjoy it.
Thank you, and welcome to Spirit of the Wolfhausen. Everyone, please go show some love to Danhausen for that intro. He's very nice, very evil. So, people watched my first episode. Thank you, everyone, for the support. I really appreciate it. I'm going to keep going. It won't be on any sort of regular schedule. I'll do it when I can. I'm going to keep doing it until, they reboot me with Ashton Kutcher. So, what are we doing today? We're going to make my late Grandma Ann's favorite beverage, the rum and coke. To the bar. The rum and coke originated in Cuba shortly after they gained independence in the Spanish-American War. Traditionally, it's made with Bacardi. And usually it's a white rum, whatever brand you want. Captain Morgan you can do if you want something with a little more spice. Today, I'm going to use Bacardi Gold. So, you'll need your rum, you'll need your coke. Fairly cut and dried. But what they don't tell you in the name of the drink is that you'll also need a lime wedge and ice. So we're going to start out by putting some ice in our glass. Not too much, not as much as Emilio. You don't want to fill it up that high. I'd say maybe 4 cubes should do it. And next, you'll take your Bacardi. Fill it up, maybe 1.5 ounces should do it. So like, maybe 1.5 fingers. If you're going by the Trailer Park Boys system of measurement. Fun fact about Bacardi, one of the executives was the grandfather of Desi Arnaz, famous for playing Ricky Ricardo on I Love Lucy and being a total badass on the Congo drum. I read about this in his autobiography, which is titled A Book. It's a pretty great name if you don't want to, flex too hard trying to think of a title for your book. But it has a lot of cool facts about how they made I Love Lucy. Check it out. It's a really good book. Next, you'll need your Coke. Coke Classic is what I generally go for. Diet Coke is what a lot of people prefer. That's how you know it's fresh. So you can do that if you like aspartame or whatever the hell it's called. About 4 ounces should do it. So you can really eyeball when it comes to this. I don't expect you to pull out a measuring cup for Coca-Cola. And next, you stir. Mix it a little bit. And then finally, we add our lime wedge. And that's the rum and coke. I mentioned it was the favorite beverage of my late Grandma Ann. We were in Disney World in 2007. I was maybe like 15 at the time. And I don't know how it came up, but we made a promise that on my 21st birthday, we'd both order rum and cokes together. So fast forward, I turned 21, we're out at dinner, she's there, and we go to this restaurant. Now, at no point had either of us brought it up. But the waitress comes around after dinner, taking our dessert orders, and I say to her, 2 rum and cokes, please. That's when my Grandma Ann looks at me with this huge smile. I can picture it. I can picture it right now. I think that's it right now. And she says, I'm so glad you remembered. So this one's for you, Grandma Ann. And as we say on Spirit of the Wolf, Slancha. So we've made a rum and coke, and I got sentimental about my family. But I suppose you're wondering right now, why is this episode called The Naked Time? Well, if you tuned in thinking you were going to see nudity, you can breathe a sigh of relief. My clothes will be staying on the entire time. No, today we are going to be talking about Star Trek the Original Series episode, The Naked Time. For those of you who don't know Star Trek, well, I'm guessing you've never woken up at 5 a.m. and decided to flip through the channels. Anyway, it's a show about the crew of the Starship Enterprise, who is on a mission to search the galaxy for new civilizations, new life, document all types of things that they see. But their number one prime directive is to never interfere with the development of lives or civilizations. And every single episode, they somehow manage to that up. In this episode, Captain Kirk and his crew are sent to explore the dying planet Psi 2000. The life has been wiped out and the planet is disintegrating, so Science Officer Spock and a yellow shirt named Tormolin are sent down to the planet's surface to figure out what the hell happened. So they get down to the lab in this planet's surface and they start exploring. They find all these frozen bodies strewn about, and they're just in weird positions. One of them's just sitting at the control deck minding his own business, another's strangling another body, and then there's one that's taking a shower with his clothes on, which you don't really do unless you're in college and drunk. So clearly all these people were wacky when they died. Spock can't figure it out, and Tormolen takes off his glove to scratch his nose. Which is exactly what you should do on a planet where everyone died and no one knows why. Then this red liquid jumps on his hand and he doesn't know it, and Spock is doing his job like a goddamn professional, so he doesn't notice that Tormolen took his glove off. So they beam back onto the ship, and Dr. McCoy gives them a once-over to make sure nothing funky happened to them while they were down there. Everything seems fine on the surface, so hey, guys, get back in the ship. What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, the higher-ups on the ship meet up to discuss what the hell they found down there. They try to figure out, hey, Scotty, can we maintain an orbit over this planet, safely, without whatever happened to them happening to us? And do you think we'll be able to escape, once the planet's about to be destroyed? And Scotty says, aye, our engines are fine. They'll be able to go as long as nothing crazy happens aboard the ship. I mean, what are the odds that'll happen? So then we cut to the lunchroom where Tormolen is on the brink of an anxiety attack when Sulu and O'Reilly decide to sit down next to their friend and have a conversation. When they start talking to him, they don't realize that he's a big sweaty mess, because maybe everybody's sweaty on the Enterprise all the time, when Tormolen just jumps up and grabs a kitchen knife and he goes absolutely nuts. We're not supposed to be here! We're polluting outer space! Men aren't meant to fly without wings! And Sulu and O'Reilly try their best to calm him down, but Tormolen just stabs himself and he collapses. And both Sulu and O'Reilly touch him, try to, see what's going on, and we hear this little rattling sound effect. And that indicates, oh no, they have it now too. So Tormolen goes to sickbay and he just starts dying, and McCoy's like, I don't get it. It's just a flesh wound. He shouldn't be dying. But then he dies. Something else must have been going on. So O'Reilly and Sulu are back on the bridge of the ship, and they're doing their best not to think about, how their friend just stabbed himself. And they're getting all sweaty too, and Sulu leans over to O'Reilly and he's like, hey, screw this, I'm gonna go exercise and get my mind off things. And before O'Reilly can say, hey, don't do that, we're steering the ship, Sulu's gone. So the ship starts to veer off course, and everyone's like, what the hell, what's going on? Where did Sulu go? And O'Reilly, in an instant, just stands up and starts talking in this big fake Irish accent like the most cartoony leprechaun you've ever seen. There's no need to fear, O'Reilly's here. I'm going to save the day. And he's just talking about how great the Irish are, and it's really random. And everyone's like, huh? What's going on? Go to sickbay. And he just skips away to sickbay. And, no one thinks, that was kind of weird. Maybe someone should walk him to sickbay, make sure he's alright. So then he shows up in sickbay. Nurse Chapel's there, and she says, I'm very sorry, but your friend Tormolen, he didn't make it. And O'Reilly just comes back with, well, maybe he didn't make it because he wasn't Irish. And then he touches her face and we hear the rattling noise and then he runs away. I think if the Starship Enterprise had social distancing measures, the episode could have been a lot shorter. We're in the hallway now and these two crewmen are just strolling along, minding their own business, and Sulu just leaps out at them and he's holding a sword and he's not wearing a shirt. Seeing all the glory of George Takei's abs here, maybe this is why they call the episode The Naked Time. But he's not really naked, he's just shirtless, he's wearing pants, I don't know. So now Sulu's just running around the ship trying to be Jack Sparrow, and they get word of it on the bridge, and Uhura relays it, and Captain Kirk's like, what next? And then Sulu bursts into the ship, and he takes Uhura, and he's like, ha-ha, now I have you. And he starts pointing his sword at Kirk. Put that thing down, what's going on? So Kirk distracts him, and we get the first instance of the Vulcan nerve pinch. I wonder how many teachers in the 60s had to yell at their students for going around trying to knock each other out. And God bless him, Leonard Nimoy says my favorite Spock line of all time here. Take D'Artagnan here to sickbay. That's so witty and random and outside the repartee of an emotionless Vulcan that you just have to love it. So then we feel shaking from the planet and the Enterprise doesn't compensate for it. Like, hey, we're starting to veer really close to this planet. It's getting dangerous. What's going on, Scotty? So Scotty doesn't answer, but guess who does? It's O'Reilly. I've taken over engineering. I'm in charge of the ship. We're gonna be serving ice cream and holding a dance in the bowling alley tonight. Okay, out of all those things, the Enterprise has a bowling alley? Where do I sign up? So basically when Scotty said, hey, as long as nothing crazy happens on this ship, we'll be fine. Who'd have thought something crazy would happen? So O'Reilly's just annoying the crap out of Captain Kirk at this point by talking over the loudspeaker. He's singing this Irish song called Kathleen. Alright, things are just nuts on the starship today. Kirk and Spock discuss what's going on, and they think it's a virus that takes over people and makes their most deep-seated personality traits come up. Tormolen had self-doubt. Sulu loves fencing. O'Reilly fancies himself an Irishman. He's proud of his heritage. Alright, cool. Let's remember that for later. So Kirk decides, I'm going to go to engineering. I'm going to help Scott get in. We're going to get O'Reilly away, and we can stop him from singing that goddamn song over and over again. Spock says, I'm going to go see McCoy and see if he has a breakthrough or a cure for this virus. Let's go! Spock gets in the sick bay, and he's running into all these bad, crazy crew members along the way that are painting and singing to each other. They're taking over after O'Reilly's lead. This thing has just spread the hell around this ship by now. He gets to sick bay, and he talks to Nurse Chapel. Hey, where's McCoy? Do we have a cure yet? Oh, Mr. Spock, I love you. Okay, you got it too. And then she touches Spock, and we hear that rattling noise again, and Spock's just like, I'm in control of my emotions. He's half human. That's breaking out right now, like hardcore. And he doesn't know what to do, so he just walks away. He needs to be alone. So there's maybe 8 minutes left until the planet explodes and the ship's destroyed, and they need to get the hell away from there. They finally break into engineering. They're able to get O'Reilly away from the control board. Oh, well, it was fun when it lasted. Then Scotty takes a look. Oh no, the engines have been shut off, and we need half an hour to turn them back on. Okay, hang on. Not one person realized that the engines were turned off. How quiet are the engines on this ship? Is this a Prius? Is the Starship Enterprise a Prius? I think this might be the most unbelievable thing in all of Star Trek, and that's saying a lot. So what the hell do we do now? Kirk is like, why don't we try some impossible stuff? You know, we'll mix matter and antimatter. We'll push away, we'll fully restart the engine, it'll be great. And Scotty says, that's never been done, Captain. That the ratio is purely theoretical. If it's off, we'll implode. And Kirk's like, well, what the hell do you expect us to do? We're gonna die in 8 minutes anyway. Might as well. I mean, your options are really bleak here, so either die or die quicker. Meanwhile, McCoy has been performing experiments on an unconscious Sulu in sickbay, and he finds out, hey, if we do a shot of water directly to the bloodstream, it'll cure the virus. So he tells them, release Sulu. I'm gonna go tell them about the cure. I don't know, maybe, wait like a few minutes to see if this is really the cure, but who cares? The ship's gonna explode in 5 minutes. Who gives a f***? Kirk goes looking for the brains of the ship and finds him in the middle of his first emotional breakdown ever. And he demands the antimatter formula. And Spock is expounding on how he doesn't understand love, and he experiences shame, and when he has emotions, and Kirk is just not having any of this, so he just slaps him. And Spock keeps going. He's like, Jim, when I feel love for you, I feel ashamed. And Kirk just keeps slapping him, and Spock justifiably slaps the crap out of Kirk that he tumbles across the table. Now, I know last time I gave a lot of shit to Star Trek for having unconvincing stunt doubles, but I'll give them credit because I'm pretty sure that's William Shatner tumbling across the table right there. The man is in the WWE Hall of Fame after all. So now we get some work from the Shatman that would put Nicolas Cage to absolute shame. He starts yelling at Spock that we need to risk the antimatter. We may blow up in the greatest explosion in this galaxy in the last 10,000 years, but we have to take that 1 in 10,000 chance. Oh God, the disease, I feel it. It's in me. Love. You're better off without it, and I'm better off without mine. Okay, I'm gonna interrupt here. We didn't actually hear the little rattle noise. I don't know if Kirk actually has the disease, or if he's just, being Kirk, but whatever, let's just go along. Let's assume that he has it. Kirk starts going off about how, his one true love is the Starship Enterprise. He's married to his ship. He can't talk to other people. He's not allowed to have love. He wishes he could talk to his yeoman Janice. Tell her how he feels. There's a lot of places you could go with Kirk's hidden trait being that he's in love with his ship. But we're gonna keep it clean here. Spock, who I guess had the disease slapped out of him by Kirk and doesn't need a water shot, says, hey, I know the antimatter formula. I'll go up to the bridge. I'll go get us started. And Kirk just slowly walks back to the bridge himself. He's walking past all the damage done to the ship, and he's quietly flirting with it on his way. Never lose you. Never. Kirk lands on the bridge, and McCoy's there, and he just proceeds to rip his shirt open and jab him with the water. Okay, why does McCoy not just ask Kirk to roll up his sleeve? And for that matter, how does he even know that Kirk even has the virus at this point? You know what? Whatever. Kirk doesn't even flinch. He just walks to his chair, he looks at the yeoman that he was just talking about, and he's like, "There's no beach to walk on." What was that, Captain? Nothing. Never mind. Let's get out of here. Then he gives the order to try this recklessly untested formula that we all know is going to work because TV Guide says there's another episode next week. Sure enough, Spock has the correct formula, and they're able to quickly restart the engine and push away from the planet just in time. That's not all, though. Sulu looks at the ship's chronometer, and it's going backwards. The Enterprise is going back in time. They pump the brakes, they stop, they find themselves 3 days in the past, and Spock is like, "Captain, this opens up innumerable possibilities. We can visit any era in history, go anywhere we want." But then Kirk just says, "We may risk it someday, Mr. Spock." Which is his very polite way of saying, "Guys, it's been a day. Can we not? Let's just circle back to this another time. God damn." So anyway, that's The Naked Time, which is not even remotely the most out there episode of Star Trek. Wait until we talk about the one where they go to the planet full of 1920s gangsters. As I finish my drink, I thank you for joining me once again. Maybe tequila next time. Remember, be sure to subscribe, and happy birthday, Nick Charlick.